I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. Let's move on to page 38 of the Discovering Music Theory Grade 1 booklet, and we're continuing with the topic of key signatures. And so we've learned that, if we just pop back to page 36, we've learned that instead of adding lots and lots of accidentals to make the notes fit the scale structures that we've been learning about, we can just add a key signature which does the job all in one go for us. And so we get used to recognising those key signatures. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to writing them and placing them correctly, but always work in pencil. You need a nice sharp pencil, which is why I always use a mechanical pencil, just so that it stays sharp. But you can use any pencil so long as that it's nice and sharp. And also you could perhaps do with an eraser to hand, because chances are you're going to need a little bit of practice. Even the best of us have to just keep rubbing out and having another go. And so we know that the scale of D major requires F sharps and C sharps, and that's the only information that a question could ever ask you. It could just ask you the same information in lots of different ways, and so sometimes we might be asked to add accidentals to make the scale structure, in which case we put the sharps or flats next to the appropriate note, or we could be asked to add a key signature which will do it in one kind of blow, as it were. So here we're asked to add the key signature. So we've got to make sure that we place it correctly. And you can use page 36 to help you. Now notice that it goes in alphabetical order, actually, a good way of remembering how to place things. We have the clef, then we have the key signature, the key, then we have the time signature. The clef and the key signature are repeated on every single line of the music for however long the music continues. The time signature is just given at the beginning. And so we know that D major requires a key signature of F sharps and C sharps. And we have to place them in a particular place. It's always the top F sharp on this top line, and it's tall and thin. Your first lines, like the hashtag sign, need to be parallel. I have one slightly above the other, but it's the across arms that make it the sharp sign that are diagonal. So one above and one below, so that the line of the note bisects straight through the box, right through the middle of the sharp sign. So that's how you place it if it's a sharp on a line. If it's a space, which the C sharp will be, F A C sharp, we have our parallel lines there, and then the box has the space kind of encapsulated inside, just as it would a note head. So it's not overlapping, but we can see that it's just encapsulating the pitch of the C space, third space up there. So have a little practice, have a go, press pause if you need to, sharp pencil, maybe don't press on too hard, because if you do have to rub out and you've really dug into your page, you're not going to be able to erase it because you'll have engraved it as well as just drawn on. So keep it nice and light. Sometimes I prefer a 2B pencil because then it's nice and soft, so you can easily erase. And so let's move on to the G major. And so we've already practiced this because D major has F sharps and C sharps. And so this F sharp is the same sharp for the G major, we always have the same sharps and then just keep adding. So we have one, then we have another one, then we have those same two, and we just keep adding as we learn more keys. So we've already had a go of that. It's still in the treble clef. So every good boy deserves football. It's still that same top F. And that's about right. There, you can see that the line goes through the middle of the box. So F major has a B flat. Now we're in the bass clef and it's this second space B here, good boys. It's not the top B outside of the stave, it's this one here. And it's like a letter B, but sort of with a pointy base. And you can see that the line of the pitch, note B, goes through the centre. So it's not a curled, it's a pointed bass. Other than that, it's quite similar to a lowercase b. Now we have G major in bass clef, so that means we must come down to this second line. Good boys deserve football. It's always this second line down here, but the principle remains. So you have your two parallel lines and then slightly diagonal with the line of the pitch going through the centre of the box there. So a bit of practice. It is tricky to begin with, but use a pencil and you'll soon get used to drawing those. Maybe grab some manuscript paper and have a little bit of a practice, just learning your manuscript skills, getting your sharps and flats nice and neat. So for exercise 6, we've got to do a number of tasks actually. If we read the question carefully, we've got first task is to name the key. And then the second task is to name the degree of the scale. And we can't answer the degree of the scale until we know the key, because we're always counting up from the tonic or the home note. So we can't start on the degree of the scale until we know what key we're in and what our tonic home note is. And so here is our clue. It's a melody, not a scale, but chances are, melodies often end on the home note to sound nice and finished. So we know that D major has two sharps, so we know that we're in the key of D major, and we're in the treble clef, and just a happy sort of confirmation, we can see that our home note is D. The notes inside are all rearranged though, so we're not playing a scale as such, but now we've got to kind of tidy these notes up and work out which degree of the scale they are. Now there's a couple of ways that you can do this. We're always counting up from the tonic. So if we need to know what degree of the scale this note here is, we're counting up from D. So here is D, there's our home note. That's a bit of a large D, never mind. Now the only way that you can go wrong, and we did this in a previous section, so you may want to pop back to that as a little bit of revision, but we always count the home note as one. And then we're counting every space, every line, every space, every line. So we have D as note 1, E as note 2, F 1, 2, 3. So we know that that's the third degree of the scale. But if you wanted to be absolutely sure that you've not miscounted or forgotten to count this lowest note as number 1, because it's very easy to forget and just go 1, 2 and forget to count the home note as note 1. What you can do is just quickly sketch out the steps of the scale. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Of course it's F sharp and C sharp, but your key signature does that job for you, so you don't really need to worry about that. And then we know that that's 1, 2, the steps of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we know that this is note F sharp, and we can see that F sharp is indeed the third. So we can count up from D for this next note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will tell us it's the 6th degree of the scale. And you can double check that, and you can see that this is every good boy. We're in the treble clef. Note B is the 6th degree of the scale, so we know that's correct. Let's count this next one. So counting from D, 1, 2, 3, 4, counting D as 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that's correct, although you can check that, and we know that that's letter G in the treble clef, and G is the 4th step, the 4th degree of the scale. So by all means, I suggest that you have a go at this next exercise and then re-access into the video and we'll check it through together. So I'm hoping you've had a go of that. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, you can always rub it out and have another go. So our first job is to figure out what key we're in. We have 1 sharp here, and 1 sharp is always F sharp, and we're in the bass clef. Good boys deserve football. And we know that F sharp tells us that we are in the key or the scale structure of G major. And now that we've got that, we can now answer the final section and name the degrees of the scale. So we're always counting from G, our note 1. So there's our low G. We're always counting up. So we have G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know that that's a 6th. Or we can step out the letters of the scale. So we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Of course it's F sharp, but your key signature deals with that, so we don't need to worry about that really. And here we have, in the bass clef, all cows eat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can see that's correct. 7, 8. So E is the 6th degree of the scale. And so here, we're counting from the G again. Now actually, if we know that's 6, we can see that this is 1 step higher, so that must be 7, but let's do that again. 1, so line space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a note F, it's an F sharp because of your key signature, and we know that's the 7th degree of the scale, so we've double checked that and that's correct. Now here, instead of counting from this low G, we've gone past an octave, so we'd have to start from counting this G here, all cows eat grass, otherwise you'll get an octave plus. So moving our tonic to the next octave, 1, 2, 3, that's the 3rd degree of the scale. If you think that's note G, A, B, it's 1 step below middle C. We can double check what note we're actually playing or seeing here. And we know that B is the 3rd degree of the scale. And so that's soon completed. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee. And for advert-free lessons, you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.